You ever notice how everyone talks about fixing society like it's a wobbly chair? Like all we need is a screwdriver and a YouTube tutorial and boom, paradise. Meanwhile, the same people saying, we need change, can't even change the Wi-Fi password without calling their nephew. Society isn't broken because of some big conspiracy. No, it came pre-broken. It's a factory defect. The moment humans crawled out of the mud and said, let's form groups so the warranty expired. And you can tell society's broken because every generation thinks the one before them screwed it up. But you know what? Every generation is correct. The cavemen probably looked at the next cave over and said, kids these days with their fancy fire. It's always somebody else's fault. No one ever says, maybe I'm the idiot contributing to this mess. Oh no, that would require introspection, and society is allergic to self-awareness. Break out in hives. And then we invented rules, lots of rules. Laws to tell you what to do, what not to do, where to stand, when to speak, when to keep your mouth shut. Society is basically a giant instruction manual written by people who never read instructions. They just slap a warning label on everything because they know someone out there is about to microwave their shoe. And when it inevitably goes wrong, no one could have predicted this. Really? You can predict the weather better than the behavior of a species that eats laundry detergent for fun? And don't get me started on our progress. We keep bragging about how advanced we are. Meanwhile, half the world can't go 5 minutes without checking their phone like a hungry raccoon opening a trash can. We invented supercomputers, but we can't invent a society where people use turn signals. We want self-driving cars, but we still can't manage self-thinking humans. That's society for you. Broken since day one, and proudly staying that way. People like to talk about society as if it was once this shining, flawless masterpiece that just recently started falling apart, like your phone after the latest update. But the truth is far more entertaining. Society wasn't damaged over time. It arrived effective. The moment human beings decided to build something together, it came out crooked, missing parts, and with instructions written in a language no one speaks. Humans weren't exactly the ideal architects for perfection. This is the same species that burns their mouth on hot pizza every single time and still acts surprised. These are the people who are supposed to build a functioning world. Please. If you've ever assembled something from IKEA, you already understand human civilization. You open the box, realize the pieces don't match the diagram. 3 screws are missing, one leg is shorter than the others, and somehow there's an extra wooden dowel that doesn't fit anywhere. But instead of fixing anything, humans say, good enough, and sit on it until it collapses. That's society. A shaky table held together by hope, denial, and someone's questionable expertise. And every time it collapses, instead of admitting it was built wrong from the start, people say, we just need better glue. No, you need better builders. People imagine civilization as this majestic, carefully engineered system, when really it's more like a group of sleep-deprived monkeys trying to assemble a spaceship. And they're all arguing about instructions they haven't read. Humans love pretending they're rational creatures. Logical, smart, in control, but history proves they're barely qualified to operate a toaster. And if you give them a toaster, someone will eventually stick a fork in it. Not because they're curious, just because they're human. The fault isn't in the stars or fate or destiny. No, the fault is in the human brain, which evolved enough to create tools, but not enough to use them responsibly. The same mind that invented fire also invented burning down villages. The same species that created penicillin also created reality TV. The human brain is like an overpowered computer running on a corrupted operating system. It boots up, it runs, but it crashes every time you open too many tabs. And society? Society is just a bunch of those glitching brains trying to coordinate. It's no wonder everything's a mess. People like to pretend that if we just had better leaders or nicer slogans or more inspirational posters with mountains on them, everything would improve. But society isn't malfunctioning because of bad leadership or bad luck or bad timing. It's malfunctioning because the software inside every person was written by a species that still hasn't mastered basic emotional regulation. You think perfection is possible when half the population can't choose what to eat for lunch without a mental breakdown? And then there's the hilarious human belief that problems always come from somewhere else. People say, this society's falling apart. But never follow up with a maybe I'm part of the reason. No one wants to admit they're the equivalent of the missing screw in the furniture kit. Everyone wants to believe they're the perfectly machined part, while everyone else is the defective piece. But statistically, somebody has to be the problem. And if you look around and can't identify the idiot in the room, you already know. That's why society has always been broken. Not because some villain secretly ruined it, not because some golden age was lost, but because humans, the original manufacturers, were never the right people for the job. And humans have always been just intelligent enough to create a society, but never intelligent enough to create a good one. Every generation loves to act like innocent bystanders, as if they were quietly minding their own business, while the previous generation drove society straight into a ditch. It's the greatest shared human tradition. Blame your parents, blame your grandparents. Blame those cavemen for inventing anything in the first place. People point fingers so hard you'd think they were getting paid per accusation. Nah. But the truth nobody wants to admit is that every generation helped break society a little more. It's a group project where everyone slacked off, everyone copied the wrong homework, and everyone pretended they were the exception. You hear old people complain about young people. Kids today don't know discipline. Sure, but who raised them? A committee of wild raccoons. And young people complain right back. The older generation ruined everything. Of course they did. But you're not exactly fixing it by making dance videos during global crises. Everybody contributes in their own unique dysfunctional way. One generation mismanages resources, the next mismanages attention spans. One generation destroyed the environment, the next generation destroyed grammar. It's teamwork, really. People have this fantasy that there was a perfect era where everything ran smoothly. But if you went back in time to any decade, you'd find a group of people complaining about how society was collapsing, usually while wearing ridiculous hairstyles that should have been illegal. The 1950s, everyone was terrified of everything. The 1970s, they were too busy inhaling disco fumes to notice anything. The 1990s, they thought dial-up internet was advanced. Every era looks better only because you're not living through its mistakes in real time. And the funniest part is that while generations are busy blaming each other, they're all repeating the same behaviors with different packaging. The old folks say the young folks are too sensitive, but the old folks used to faint if someone showed an ankle. The young folks say the old folks are out of touch, but they will be the same way in 30 years, complaining about how their kids don't appreciate vintage holographic memes. It's a cycle, and nobody escapes it. Every generation thinks they're the first to be enlightened, and then life smacks them around until they become the same grumpy elders they used to mock. Even the so-called wise generations weren't that wise. They just had fewer ways to document their stupidity. Today, people post their nonsense online for billions to witness. In the past, they just did stupid things quietly in a barn somewhere. But the stupidity level? Same, identical. Consistent across the centuries. It's almost comforting, like a family tradition of bad decision-making. Each generation inherits a society full of cracks, dents, and missing screws. Instead of repairing anything, they slap on a fresh coat of paint and hand it off to the next group like, "Here you go, kid. Good luck." And the kid takes it, shrugs, and eventually breaks it even more. It's the world's longest relay race. Except the baton is a ticking time bomb and every runner is blindfolded. That's why blaming one generation is ridiculous. It's never just one group. It's everybody working together, sometimes consciously, usually accidentally, gradually turning a flawed system into a spectacular mess. People love to brag about how advanced society has become, as if having a smartphone automatically raised the collective IQ. We pat ourselves on the back for building faster computers, sleeker gadgets, and hotter microwaves, but somehow we still can't create a society where people understand the basics of thinking. Technology evolves every 2 minutes, but people stay mentally parked in the same spot. Hazards on, blocking the lane. It's hilarious to watch humans celebrate each new invention as proof of progress when half the population can't function without being told to click here with a big glowing arrow. The greatest joke of the modern world is that gadgets keep getting smarter while the humans using them keep getting dumber. You hand someone a device that can access all of human knowledge, and they use it to type angry comments in all caps at strangers they'll never meet. People used to argue using logic. Now they argue with memes, emojis, and the confidence of someone who hasn't read past page 1 of anything since school. We created machines that can calculate the distance to Mars, but we still can't convince people to read the instructions on a shampoo bottle before complaining. Progress is supposed to be about improving life, but somewhere along the line it turned into let's invent things that let people avoid thinking. Self-checkout, voice assistance, predictive text. Everything is designed to remove even the smallest mental effort. Eventually, we'll probably have an app that tells people when to blink, because apparently that's too much responsibility for some folks. The more convenient things become, the more allergic people get to using their brains. It's almost like evolution is running in reverse, one phone update at a time. And then you have this obsession with artificial intelligence. People panic that machines will become smarter than humans, but they never consider the more likely scenario. Machines won't have to get very smart to surpass us. When a toaster can outperform the average political argument online, we've got problems. People worry about robots taking over jobs, but honestly, some humans have already mentally clocked out. The robots would probably do better. Meanwhile, society keeps mistaking access to information for intelligence. Just because someone can Google something doesn't mean they understand it. People skim half an article and suddenly think they're experts in economics, medicine, psychology, and quantum physics, all before breakfast. Humanity has reached a point where misinformation spreads faster than truth, not because the tools are dangerous, but because the users treat critical thinking like it's optional DLC they didn't feel like downloading. It's funny that people keep searching for ways to fix society, as if buying better technology will magically repair the human condition. You can give a person the most powerful device in the world, but if they use it mainly to watch cats play the piano, society isn't exactly heading for enlightenment. Progress keeps happening around us, but not inside us. Machines get updates. Humans stay on version 1.0, buggy, glitchy, and refusing to read the patch notes. So when you step back and look at the whole mess, the defective society we started with, the generations passing it around like a broken toy, and the people who traded thinking for touchscreen convenience, you realize the world was never supposed to make sense. It was built by confused creatures doing their best with instructions they never understood, then handed down to more confused creatures who insisted they could fix it without actually trying. And now we live in a time where our technology is sprinting ahead while we're still tripping over the same mental shoelaces we've had for thousands of years. Society isn't broken because of one moment, one group, or one mistake. It's broken because humans designed it, maintained it, and then forgot what the original blueprint even looked like. And the real punchline? Even with all the chaos, confusion, and idiocy, we keep waking up every day and participating in it like it's the best show in town. Maybe that's the secret. Society has always been a disaster, but it's our disaster. And somehow we've learned to laugh at it while trying not to trip over the rubble.